Hi everyone, Laure here with amazing congratulations on this victory. How does it feel to be back on stage after such a long time?
Pretty weird.
Yeah.
I don't know, I was nervous for the first time in ever, you know, like usually I'm cool and collected, but today was actually really weird. I don't know.
Yeah. You had a messy early game, I feel. What went wrong here?
I went wrong.
Explain, please.
What we did is like, we didn't really practice this K combo too much in practice recently, but we like brought it on stage because we felt it was a good situation. I just felt like I had to go in. I don't know, I didn't. And that's how it worked out, you know, like it just looked bad. It looked worse than it was, I suppose.
Well, it's the beginning. I mean, you had to see Schalke from the outside during Split. Now you're in the team. Where do you think there's room for improvement for the Split?
I mean, it's definitely about like the shot calling still, because obviously I'm a bit washed up, you know, like there's no denying that like my game understanding is a bit outdated, that I still have to get to that next step, you know, where I can play well mechanically and still shot call, because right now I communicate, but then I play like this, you know, in the early game, which shouldn't be, you know, so it has to be a balance, and I think that's what we want to achieve.
Well, do you think, you're saying you're washed up, but do you think you can improve from that? I mean, you're not too old.
I mean, I'm not too old, but I guess I can. I can definitely improve. Like in the beginning of like basically the trials and whatever, when I started the Split, you know, like the preseason, I was really bad, but I was still good enough to make the team. So there's something, and from that point onward, I actually improved a ton. You know, we actually regressed a bit in the recent weeks, where we're past our peak, but we're gonna try to regain it again.
Well, nonetheless, congratulations on
Thank
that
you.
one, and good luck for tomorrow, obviously. And for more on that, let's take it over to Shucks and the guys at the desk.
Thanks, Laure. Still no desk. We have one. It's just looking out right here.
We don't like this.
Yeah,
It's over there.
we like our pants. We want people to see them. What can I say? Anyway, really cool interview with amazing. Him saying himself, I'm a bit washed up, then meaning, you know, I obviously don't have the best understanding of the game as I did when I was a pro player full time. Being in the broadcast team probably took him back a bit, but I think he's got a healthy outlook on things, it looks like. Yeah. Ready to improve and saying, yeah, I had to do something. It seems like that's really why he was brought in.
I think his goals are very much, I want to get better. I believe I can be one of the best junglers in Europe. He still feels like he's got a long way to go, and I definitely can see that being able to lead a team while also mechanically being on par with everyone else on your team is a challenge. So I'm hoping that he will be able to evolve from this point forward, but they still get a win on the board. A better start than last split for Schalke, so I'm sure that's a positive to walk away from.
Yeah, and that was a crazy finish to that game. I want to talk about it for just a second, because in the game before, we saw crazy backdoor. That was a front door from Schalke. They ran it straight down mid lane. Both solo laners from UOL were nowhere to be found, and they just ended it.
They did end it at player of the game. Off that was Nukeduck with 57% of the votes. The year of the duck, quack, quack, we don't know yet. We're not going to jump on that just yet, but fantastic. And he is also one of those cogs in that wheel of Schalke that has to perform for everyone to perform. And just the fact that I think they used that front door and they took those decisions is for me already a positive change from the spring split. But as said, only one game, still a lot of them to go.
Yeah, it was still fun, though, to see him on the Kale. A little bit of innovation still in this meta where you expected a bunch of crazy picks. That wasn't one of them, so I tip my hat to Schalke on that.
There we go. Fantastic job by Nukeduck and Schalke. First win on the board, and now it is time for our next game between Roccat and G2. Now, G2 Esports, they are the 4-time EU LCS champions, and they made it all the way to the finals in spring. But even with the loss to Fnatic, we saw a lot of improvements, and I gotta be honest here, when I think back to how G2 did in spring, I think, oh, well, they weren't that good. But I think that is not true to what happened. They were a team that came into spring with a new roster built around perks, and they evolved to the point that they made the finals, which is a huge achievement because they fell to a Fnatic, which in the end was stronger than them.
Yeah, they certainly did, and I think it's worth acknowledging that G2 was the best early game team in our entire league. They consistently found those early advantages, even against Fnatic. Just often their biggest issue was that they couldn't close out games. And we look back at the final, and we look at some of the individuals that we really expected to step up, and Perks was someone that didn't do that for me. Getting solo killed by Caps, not quite having the expectations that he had put upon, or living up to the expectations that he already put on himself after being a 4-time champion. I feel like that there is still much more room left to be had for this guy, and he has a lot more to show coming into summer.
Yeah, that being said, though, I do still believe that G2's top side of the map was by far the best in Europe. Wunder, Jankos, Perks in the mid lane, all these players really really stepped up during the regular season, and now I just want to see them get back to form after that rough series.
Yeah, when we talk about Perkz on the top side of the map, I can only imagine how rough it is for a player like Perkz, who was on top of Europe for 2 years in a row. Nobody could even come near his lane kingdom, and then he sees Caps not only beat him, but go to MSI and be hailed as one of the best players in the world. For someone like Perkz, who was in that position a year ago, I feel like he'll want to take G2 to the next level here in summer. But what has to happen around him? If we take that Perkz steps up, what else has to fall in place for G2 to take that next step?
Well, we need to see some diversity from this squad, because last split it was pretty much all early game, all 1-3-1, just a distinct style that they were able to develop and make work for them and enable them to get to the finals. But when you can just ban out a single player's champions and then have no other strategies in a final, that is an issue for a team. So coming into this split, I just want to see different styles. I want to see diversity. I want to see a range of play from this G2 squad.
And look, Phineas, mixing things up should not be difficult for G2. With the meta we're in, all these crazy things happen. I feel like I'm just a broken record saying it over and over again, but it's time for G2 to show us something new.
No, I totally agree with you. We'll see what they pull out against their opponents, the longtime Kingslayers, Roccat. And in spring, they did more than just be Kingslayers. They made it to playoffs for the first time since 2015, and that was a huge surprise when we looked at the expectations we had for that squad at the beginning of spring. A bunch of players who had not really necessarily... I'm looking for the word like...
I mean, to me, they were just a ragtag bunch that nobody really wanted, right? You look at many of the players, like from Profit and
Accomplished,
TQ.
that was the word I was looking for.
Accomplished. That's very fair. But the way I saw it was that they were just... there were a lot of players that many people didn't see have that many expectations behind. They weren't that good. They were on an NIP roster that had one of the worst splits in EU LCS history, and then they come back and they make playoffs. This team should be aiming for so much more now, given that they've kept their roster. And this is the first time the Roccat has been able to keep their roster since 2014.
Yeah, for the longest time, it was about, bringing in the new talent and building on that, figuring out what worked for them. Now it's about refining that talent that they retain, and I think this is a good roster to work with.
Well, if we look at some individuals, we talked about Perkz on the side of G2, and for me, Blanc is also the guy that jumps out to me. He had some wonderful performances back in spring at given moments, but we want to see that all the time from him, and that's really what this Roccat roster needs.
Yeah, to me, when I thought of Blanc, one of the most successful Roccat kind of performances was when he was on a big team fighter, the team invested resources into him, and he was just able to go off. Azir was a huge pick for this man in the middle lane, and I feel like that you can still look to play through the mid lane. I feel like we've seen some big carry performances from that role throughout the day, and I'm really excited to see how he can match up against Perkz now, because last split was his rookie split. He's now got a split under his belt, his first playoff performances, and now he's going up against what was considered still is considered one of the best mid laners in Europe.
Yeah, well, this will be the big question mark for Perkz in his first game. Will it be answered? If he can have a good performance here, that will set him off to a great start. And I think this is one of those matches where even though you believe in Roccat, and definitely after what they showed in spring, in predictions, you're inclined to give it to G2. I definitely did that. What did you guys vote for?
Yeah, I still think it's G2. I'm banking on that top side of the map really stepping up and putting the carry work in. And I mean, Wonder, Perkz, keep saying those names. They're so good. I think they can run away with it.
I have to agree with Ender. It does look like that, he is a smart man. He's decided to agree with everything that I have said today. But for me, G2, just on individual talent alone, I do think that is a disparity between the two teams. And given how unstable the meta is right now, I feel like individual talent will be a big factor in enabling G2 to take the win today.
We'll see what happens. I like that we have kind of an update of how the vote has gone throughout the day. The fans, they need that last game to go Fnatic's way. Although this is not the full picture. A lot of analysts also picked Fnatic.
Everyone did, except for me, Ender, and Deficio.
Except for you and Ender, so we'll see. Well, we're now on G2 Esports versus Roccat, guaranteed to be a hype matchup. Let's leave it to our casters for the game.
Thank you very much, Shox, and good evening, everyone. I'm Aaron Medic Chamberlain, joined by our superior analyst, Martin Deficio Lunger.
Did win the prediction game, that is true. I actually forgot to bring the trophy to the caster desk.
That's a shame.
Big mistake already.
Were you able to get rid of all the confetti that you had accrued as well?
I still have some stuck in my insanely manly chest here. It's about 5 hairs.
I've seen you topless, Division. That's not true at
There's
all.
probably something stuck somewhere.
There probably is. Let's get on into picks and bans. It's 8-11, and this patch has been all surprise up to now. G2 on the blue, they elected to be there, and they get rid of the Vladimir first.
That is a very interesting point, because a lot of teams want that red side, so that with all the flex picks in the meta, you get to see where everything is going before you go in with your last pick, and you can try and get a winning matchup somewhere. Not G2 Esports, so they're obviously looking at a very strong first pick on their side. So far, Talia is still left open. We've actually seen open twice and not first picked, which was one of the picks I expected to see all the time.
It might be something that the junglers are still trying to get used to her. She does have a slightly different playstyle to a lot of the junglers we've seen.
Yeah.
She's not Skarner, she's not Sejuani, she's not Trundle, not that tanky jungler
that could be a long list.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of tanky junglers on that list. She has been taken away by Roccat alongside the Aurelia, though. Final ban from G2 is the Lulu.
So Taric is still left open, which has also been a go-to ban in every single game so far, because it blocks Taric and Master Yi, which is that combo where you try and force feed the Master Yi all early game, and he just takes over once he gets a Rage Blade. It is still available in the draft, and it's no longer available because Roccat with the last one. So far today we've seen 2 red side bans of Taric, and of course, 1 red side ban and 2 blue side bans. This is actually the second one, so I was correct at first.
Good job.
I just tripped myself over.
Yeah, well, we got there in the end, and
2 for
G2
2
got towards that first pick we were talking about.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Zoe for Perks.
So we had a moment, if we go back a few weeks, where a lot of mid laners were looking at Karma. Lulu even started being played a bit, and people felt like it was a lot about just wave push and wave clear all the time, and there wasn't as many outplays and big moments. Now, mid lane is just so important, because a lot of champs you can play that actually can get a lot of kill pressure. And if you get mid lane control, it gives you control of the river where the Rift Scuttler is sitting. And of course, then your jungler loves you, because then he gets the Rift Scuttler. So, champions like Zoe, that can be such a big playmaking pick that can really take over mid, has just gotten so high up on the prior list. And Perks wants to carry back. I'm glad we get a Yasuo though on the other side. Currently, a flex pick.
Yeah, the Yasuo is flexed. Rakan is probably going to the support role. His AP ratios were nerfed, so no longer really see that mid Rakan. But the flexibility of the Yasuo, the combination with the Rakan, have seen it bot lane a few times.
I really like what Freddy did here on the side of Roccat. I think Rakan is such a strong pick, especially on the LCS stage where teams tend to play a little bit more passive. Rakan's engage still does the fastest and the safest you can get. So it allows you to force plays that you normally otherwise do not always see on the LCS stage, and also of course works with things like a Yasuo when you need to dive that backline. Fiddlesticks, he's shown up a few times now.
He has. We saw the Fiddlesticks with Aftershock earlier on. Get that fear proc, get yourself a little bit more tanky, gives you some strong engage as well, and works well into the Rakan.
Hold me here, medic. They're hovering a crit AD carry. This AD carry is building crit items.
Have they not heard of the new meta, Deficio?
I'm gonna be sick. Get Vedi in here.
If I could, I would, Deficio. We both know that.
I need a medic.
It's
Shame you're not a real medic.
Xayah Rakan in the bottom lane for Roccat. Yes. Traditional AD carry there. G2 could still pick a traditional AD carry.
And it's not the first time in this meta we have actually seen the Xayah Rakan still being used. It is a little bit harder to fully execute it, but it's still a fantastic combo to play. Not every team will do it, which is one of the interesting things about this patch is each team you ask have a completely different view on the bot lane meta. Some teams are like we heard earlier with Vitality, if you pick an AD carry, you're dumb, you're just gonna lose. Well, right now we're watching a Xayah Rakan bot lane, and last game we had Lucian being picked against this other AD carry called Ezreal.
Yeah, and that worked out well for the Ezreal in the end. It feels like the AD carry pool might be slightly smaller than it was, but there are still those strong marksmen, looking at Draven, looking at Lucian, even Xayah, who can fill that role. Now, Roccat get rid of the Aatrox and the Ezreal themselves. G2 remove the Skarner from the pool. And what I really want to know here is what these teams need for a rounded team composition, what they actually need to add to these first 3 picks to really get this team composition online.
I've started to look a lot about just like basic things that normally fits into any comp, like how much engage do you have, or is it poke damage versus...
Do you have wave clear?
Yeah, do you have any wave clear? And like if you look at G2's side, there's not a lot of engage, but there's a very good long-range abilities. Like Zoe's poke, you have Dark Wind flying around from a Fiddlesticks, constantly silencing you, and a Trundle Pillar as well that works both as a tool to startify, but also disengage. Hang on, that's a Hecarim coming in. Yeah, that works really well with things like a Yasuo.
Get the knockups, you get the engage.
Oh, you charge right into them.
Alongside a Roccat, Hecarim runs in, you jump onto that Hecarim, and then you get an even longer engage.
Oh,
I'm
Yanin!
loving this. Yanin, though, says anything you can do, I can do better. Picks up the Heimerdinger for himself.
Fun story. Yanin, while he is a professional AD carry and has been playing AD carries for years, in solo queue, he's always been kind of famous for his Heimerdinger. Mid lane, top lane, when we normally get to see it in solo queue before this patch, he's actually insane on this champion. And now that he can play it in the bottom lane, I'm not surprised that we get Heimer Fiddlesticks. It's the same combo Vitality used earlier today, and it's perma push. You don't actually pick this to try and kill them early game, it's just push, 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 push.
And we talked about why that's important, because you get control of the river, you get vision in there, and then the Scuttle Crab comes out, and your jungler thanks his lucky stars that you're on his team.
I'm a little bit scared though if I'm G2 Esports, because remember we talked about so standard things you kind of want in comms. Another one is, what are your disengage tools? Like, how defensive can you be in a fight when you have long range poke? There is effectively almost no disengage on the side of G2, because Fiddlesticks, he jumps forward in a fight, and the enemy team is running Ornn ulti, Hecarim flying in, and a Roccat. There are literally so many ways that even if Roccat fail 90% of their engages, they will still get the engage because the last 10% is so strong that they will get to that back line. And then Yasuo, he's spamming that R key the moment he sees the fight is starting. There's a lot of ways for this Roccat comp to get in a 5-on-5 and absolutely destroy G2's backline.
The question is, can they get to a point where they win the 5v5 completely? Can they get to that item position? Can they get 2 items on their Yasuo? Because we heard it on the analyst desk, we've talked about it in the past, G2 were the best early game team in Spring Split, and if they can carry that across here, get complete control of the game, get a 4,000 or 5,000 gold lead by that 20-minute mark, you have to feel they can snowball the game.
And G2 Esports did not win the EULCS because they were not the best late game team as well. That was Fnatic. So G2 got the early advantages, couldn't finish the game. Baron was a problem for them, late game team fights. But we're in a meta where you don't have to go AD carry versus AD carry. Yanin didn't look that great last split when it was the traditional AD carries going against each other. They couldn't rely on him always in late game fights. Now he's playing Heimerdinger. This is actually a huge advantage for him and what he can do against the enemy team's bottom lane.
We'll have to keep our eyes on that bottom lane. G2 and Roccat jumping onto the Summoner's Rift for the first time in Summer Split here. The first time we've seen a Hecarim as well. We talked about how well that works as part of this teamfight composition that Roccat have.
Oh yeah.
The question is if they can enact it.
Now Hecarim always had problems being a jungle that required a lot of gold to be effective, because it's kind of a one-way ticket with Hecarim. He goes in, and if you're not ahead in the game, if you're not actually getting to 1 or 2 early items, you're very squishy and you just end up dying. But his main job is actually not to deal damage on the side of Roccat here. His main job is to set up blank on this Yasuo pick. And that's going to be a key thing to follow. Can Jankos find him? Because 1v1 in the early game with Jankos, we know Trundle is fantastic at skirmishing. He's not going to be scared of Memento. It's the 2v2 combo around mid lane that you have to respect.
We did see G2 setting up as a 5-man, but they will just spread out in the end here.
And can we just move the camera down to the bottom lane? Everyone at home, if you're going to play Heimerdinger, you tell your jungler, I can't leash for you. Get that camera down to the bottom lane, guys. We're looking at Heimerdinger. Get in the lane, place your turrets, and then the moment the minions arrive, the turrets, they just start popping, and you want to push. Fiddlesticks as well. He literally can't stop pushing when he wants to poke you, because it just keeps bouncing into the wave. And now, Roccat has to sit back and wait.
You lose the level 2 pressure, you lose that advantage. Xayah Rakan's so good at level 2 as well. Means that G2 will have all of the priority in this lane.
So remember to tell your jungler to start on the other side. You're not going to leash for him.
I mean, remember to tell him you're playing Heimerdinger bot lane as well.
Hey, you can do it now.
It's important. You can do it. It's still important to inform your team of your strategies before you jump into a solo queue game. Jankos gets the top side scuttler, bottom side yet to be taken. And actually, Jankos is going to come straight down here, skipping out his red buff, it seems, to try and get that river control. We talked about the push in the bot lane. That's exactly what G2 are utilizing here.
Oh, the double scuttler coming in here with the around, because remember, they have push from level 1 in bot lane. That means they have access to the river. It is hard for Memento on an early game Hecarim to really challenge this if suddenly Wadid can move forward and join Jankos. And it is now G2 with all the early vision on their side of the river, and they even find these blue buffs sitting there looking all nice.
Memento was able to get level 3, so the smites will be even if Memento can get here in time.
He's on his way.
He is. Norscarin looking for the flank here as well. It's only Wadid and Jankos. Jankos still on the blue buff, smites it down. He secures it, and now the chase is on for G2. Jan and their first blood to Wadid.
We just talked about this. The bot lane from G2, that's the one pushing. They will be able to join the fight. They can move in. Memento might be the shot caller here, but that was a bad call from him on the side of
He is an early
Roccat.
game catalyst for G2 though.
In this case, at least, because that was not the fight you were looking for. Yanan joins 3v2, and of course your two members standing together against the Fiddlesticks. Very easy fight here for G2 Esports. Look at this, look at the bot lane on the minimap. Zaya is moving now, Yanan is already here. Now you're standing together to take a bunch of damage, and you just die so quickly. Hecarim is not tanky in the early game.
Not at all, and really needs to get up towards those first, second completed items to get any tankiness under his belt. We used to see Hecarim going towards the Trinity Force as well as one of his first items. You say he doesn't need damage here, but I wonder if we will still see Memento go down that route.
It's always an option, especially if you get a bunch of early kills, but the problem is if you don't, it's just another very expensive item to build that in terms of tankiness does not provide a lot for you. If you have quick fights, a lot of burst, then it's good. It's always great because you fly in, you smack them in the face with a Yasuo, you win the fight, and then you don't need tankiness. But in this case here, if you're G2, your main goal is trying to protect someone like Perkz and Yanan. Because we know late game Heimerdinger, when you're sitting in these fights here, especially with the operated missiles coming in from his ulti, that is insane amount of damage onto one target, as long as you don't get to dive onto him and actually kill him instantly.
At the moment, things working incredibly well for G2. About 1,200, 300 gold in the lead. Jankos stealing away as much of this jungle as he can. Has a level advantage over Memento and a gold advantage, about 400 farm ahead himself. All in all, Rockat's plan of getting to team fighting is looking a long way away.
Well, Scarin is up here trying to protect his jungler. Might look for something mid lane, blank.
This is the power of
very nice.
Roccat. Flash engagement. Perkz able to flash away in time, keeps himself safe. We did here as well to stop any more advances from the Roccat hordes.
I actually like what Scarin did here. Coming from base, he walks into his own topside jungle to protect Memento. They can't afford Jankos stealing away more camps. They need the Hecarim to hit level 6. So he actually ends up forcing Jankos out. Does manage to find a flash in the mid lane from Perkz as well. So in the end, a small win here for Roccat. But of course, surprise party Fiddlesticks, the best skin you can possibly get. Managed to show up here on the side of Wadid.
There is Jolly Roger Fiddlesticks as well.
That sound like when he jumps in, that's the sound you're looking for.
Sorry, can you do that sound again for me, Fisher?
Maybe not.
You sure? I would like you to do it in one time when he ultimates. I would like you to do that noise for me. Anyway, Wadid is going to continue just to harass Norscarin and Hiku in this bottom lane. The game has been very much focused around this bot side of the map. Perkz has helped out by pushing in mid, but it's been all about whether Jankos could secure these scuttles, and Memento has been able to sneak one away.
I also want to see if the trend of Roccat always playing really well against G2 will continue. They have a habit of beating G2 Esports, except when G2 is using subs. That's when Roccat suddenly can't touch them. I don't know, some spell on them, but otherwise, even when G2 is on a great winning streaks, they play Roccat and suddenly they can actually end up losing the game here. It's a rough start, of course, but we gotta keep looking at that massive wombo combo of engage on the side of Roccat if they get into a team fight. For now, though, it's all about just not falling further behind. Get your level 6 on your Yasuo and get Memento back in the game because he's still a level down.
That's looking to get towards that level 6 as well. We'll have the devastating, the Onslaught of Shadows, sorry, for that ultimate ability, for the ability to get in the back of the fight. All we really want to see from Roccat is that one big team fight where they combine all of these ultimates, the quickness, Featherstorm,
oh yes,
Last Breath, and the Onslaught of Shadows. Maybe even the Horn coming out from Ornn as well.
We want the devastating Onslaught of Shadows. That's what we're looking for from them. Grenade lands, that means you get a little power shot from your turrets. Yanan now, needs to dance around here. Remember, he's squishy on Heimerdinger. Fun fact, I tried to one-trick Heimer for a while, and I didn't realize you had to land the grenades for the cannons to give you a little extra burst shot here. That's
dangerous.
He's taxing very quickly the lane here.
It's just speed tax.
My custom minions!
I need these, I need these. Get me a level 6. But I think running into Hyunum when he has the upgrade available and can put down a big turret is always a dangerous proposition.
A nerfed big turret, but still deals some damage. You're all correct.
Definitely does. You see Jankos trying to make a play on the other side of the map, but unable to do it for the moment. And a big question that Roccat have to answer this split is whether they are just a team that can find good talent or whether they're a team that can develop talent as well.
And can they get better than what they showed us last split? They were sitting in the middle, fighting for so long for the playoffs. So they got it in the end, but they entered playoff as the weakest of the 6 teams. They got 3-0 by Splice. It was a fairly quick day, but in the end it was a good split because they managed to get top 6 when a lot of people didn't expect it, with teams like Misfits and Schalke not getting in, then Unicorns of Love. Now they need to show this split here. Are they once again going to be sitting in the middle, fighting for top 6? Can they actually take a step further with this team here? I think Freddy's done a good job as a coach, and there's a lot of exciting names on the lineup here, like Noscaran down in the support role. Memento in the jungle is someone we've hyped a lot as well, and there are good enough players to challenge every team in Europe. They just got to do it consistent.
G2 have been a team that they have consistently been able to put to the sword throughout the last few splits.
And now they have a sword in the mid lane.
They do. They do. He hasn't really got towards any of those item spikes yet. Looking for the Phantom Dancer Infinity Edge on Yasuo for that 100% crit and the extra true damage you get off it. Has got Conqueror, which seems to be the keystone of choice as well. But as we can see, the engagement.
Oh, a big cannon! That's a big cannon!
Did gets the second kill of the game.
Man.
How large would you say that cannon was?
That was a big one.
That was a big cannon.
I call that cannon Vidius. And that went all in on Rocket's bot lane right there. Noscaran, I'm not really sure what he was trying to do, but he got feared instantly, and then he just got destroyed.
That he did, and G2 are going to look for the first tower of the game down towards this bottom side as well. If they can get that, it will put them about 4,000 gold ahead or so. Very, very strong play from G2 here. We talked about how they want to go in, they want to make the plays. This is the Chad composition from G2. It's all about going in.
At the moment we saw the Heimerdinger with the Fiddlesticks, we were like, this is just perma push bot lane. From level 1, they were sitting there with 3 turrets, pushing bot lane. And now they've gotten the bot lane turret. We're not even 10 minutes into the game. They've already killed Noscaran. He's only level 5, not level 6 yet. Not as scary. Wonder, by the way, he might get killed.
Pops the ultimate, flashes away, but still gets caught underneath the tower. His momentum as well, and Roccat do not give him a chance to react. Blanc engages in the mid lane as well. Perks has to run for his life. And Roccat making plays across the map.
Oh, good all-ins here from Roccat while the G2 bot lane was actually swapping lanes here, of course, from bottom side up towards top lane. It's Roccat showing up first, killing Wonder, forcing his flash. Jankos looking for something, but no one takes the bait because they knew there was a chance Wedit was on a ward up here as well, at least spotted by it.
What I'm really liking from Roccat as well is they're not waiting for all of their ultimates to be ready. They're not waiting for the true wombo. Noscaran's still only level 5. When he hits 6, those ultimates will be coming back off cooldown, and they'll be able to try and force another big play again.
Let's see if they can actually go for it. We've already now got an example of how quick they can engage, but it was only onto a Mundo. They still didn't get any turret from it, so G2 maintained the large gold lead. Noscaran learned from the bottom lane what happens when you jump in. You get feared and then silenced, and then a cannon shoots you in the face. Meanwhile, if you look at Jankos, he's been fairly active in trying to counter jungle in this game here, but he is same level as Memento at this point. Look at that. There's a Sheen on that Hecarim. Oh, he wants that burst damage.
Told you, going up towards the Trinity Force. Rift Herald comes down, not picked up yet by Jankos, and will eventually go across to get it after securing the Rift Scuttler.
Now there is, of course, a thing that was changed with Rift Scuttler that is important to highlight, is if you don't get to hit it before it actually charges the turn, it does deal more damage than before. So it's another part of why some of the games are a little bit faster, because it is a little bit quicker to get down some of the turrets, but they get to hit it in the eye. There you go. Now it deals no damage. Okay, fine, 40%.
Yeah, half of a turret's HP is a substantial amount, but it deals a lot less than it would have done.
No damage, everyone, no damage. I actually thought it would do way less damage.
Yeah, that's old Rift Scuttler. That's the reason it's important to remember that new Rift Scuttler always does that big burst.
That's true.
You can buff the burst if you keep him safe. Now, Memento has been spotted out on a ward here. Good warding from G2 to realize that's the track that Memento would take to try and get towards the top lane. He is quick, but Jankos might be quicker as he comes up as well. He's going to force away the Hecarim for now.
All right, Memento. Predator. Movement speed naturally as a Hecarim. Looking for another big engage for the team. That's kind of the way back in the game. They're not going to match the push of Fiddlesticks and Heimerdinger. Like, it is one of the bot lanes you don't want to play against. if you can't actually engage onto them, because it's just you just get poked out. There's just nothing you can do. You need to force the fight and actually secure the kill. But there's stopwatch right now on the side of Janan. Smart choice from him.
To keep himself safe. G2 pushing into the jungle, but TP's coming in from Profit. They're looking for the engage on towards Janan. There's the call of the Forge God, the cavalry, the ram behind him, able to dodge around the side of it and puts down the upgraded turret. Now Widid might look for the engage off towards the side. Here's the ultimate Deficio.
No, I don't know what's gonna happen.
He didn't make the noise, Deficio, but G2 are making a lot of noise in this top lane as they jump onto Momentum. He goes down. EQ underneath the tower, keeping himself alive for the moment. Perps
I let you
now
down.
to join in the fight. Jankos may have let down his team though, because he's gonna fall the last breath. Somehow he manages to stay alive, and G2 destroy Roccat in the top lane.
Oh, the stopwatch in the end kept Janan alive. That's 4 kills for G2 Esports. They're gonna get another turret, man. They are so far ahead in this game. Roccat, they went for the all-in. They TP'd in behind them. But just like I couldn't support you right there, about to drink, then they all couldn't support each other and they just died.
So right, we're going to have a replay in a second, Official, and I'm looking forward to that sound effect. Tower goes down in the top lane. Perks is going to take down mid as well, or at least get some more damage onto it. A 7,000 gold lead,
yeah,
14 minutes in.
All the outer turrets gone now. G2 Esports are so far ahead. Let's get the play.
Acer replay.
So the horn comes in. Janan flashes out, puts down the cannon. Okay, they don't want to chase now through all the turrets. And Widid shows up and it just goes something like, and he flies in. He gets a bunch of damage down. Oh, the rocket. Thank you, everyone. I'm so sorry I couldn't do it live.
Next time.
I've actually never been more disappointed in myself than right there.
Well, I'm sure Roccat were a little bit disappointed they couldn't kill Jankos as well.
I think at this point, if you're Roccat, you feel like there's such a great chance you get at least 1 kill. But the stopwatch
keeps Janan alive. That replay was brought to you by Acer Predator, and what a replay it was as G2 able just to dominate that top side of the map. 15 minutes in, an 8,000 gold lead. We said if they put their foot down, if they were able to play the early game like they did in Spring Split, they would accelerate this game away from Roccat.
They're doing it right now, baby. They're doing it so, so well. You don't need to watch the World Cup if you can watch a Heimerdinger and Fiddlesticks win their lane, take turrets, and Janan has shown us already whenever the fights break out, he's ready on this Heimerdinger, even when he is the focus. Now he's pushing top lane for himself. He does have TP, of course, important to highlight. We're gonna see this a lot more again. We had a moment with TP AD carries all the time. That stopped. We only had it a few times. Now it's back. In most of the games, you're going to see it just because push is so important. A lot of sustain. Early game was also taken away, you know, because the traditional AD carries are not always seeing play. Even then, it is nerfed for them as well. So you need that TP if someone else brings TP, otherwise you can't match them in lane push.
Makes a lot of sense, and the lane push is so good for G2. Janan finished that Luden's Echo, building up towards his next item as well. You can see how that gold is just spiked for G2 as well. Continuously finding avenues to pick off members of Roccat, to take towers. They don't really care if they don't get another kill for the rest of the game. All they want to do is push down these towers and take the Nexus.
And we've kind of gone back to game 1 of the day, where we again had the Fiddlesticks plus the Heimerdinger from Vitality, where they get ahead and they actually start showing us great snowballing and they get really far ahead so quickly. It's not what we saw from game 2 and 3. We've actually had both things now. Early advantages being snowballed out of control in 2 games, both featuring the same bot lane, and then 2 of the slower ones. So we thought we were going to get big late game team fights. Then randomly Betsy finished the game as a Zia, and the other game Unicorns of Love tried to 1-3-1 the late game and lost the Nexus.
It's not the optimal strategy in that sort of situation.
Typically, if anything ends on you lose the Nexus, the strategy probably isn't that great. Yeah. That one last part is pretty crucial.
Did you learn that from Solo Queue, Official?
I've never lost my Nexus in Season 8.
Really? You have a 100% win record in Season 8?
Almost.
Okay.
My team has lost the Nexus a few times, but I have not.
That's where I'm going wrong. Sometimes I lose the Nexus.
If I'm not in the base when that Nexus dies, it's not really my Nexus, is it? If I'm bot lane pushing something.
Yeah. We'll stick with that one for now, Deficio.
Pro tips.
G2 still just going back, getting their next set of items, starting to push in these waves once again. This adopting this kind of 1-4 strategy where Mundo is in a side lane and the rest of G2 sort of group up around where Baron will spawn.
And Mundo's going to be one of the picks again we're going to see a lot more of in the meta. We've already seen him in LCK and LPL where the goal effective for Mundo is not to have any early action. Like, he is not that great early on, but he's such an amazing 1v1 champion later, and then he walks into a team fight as a giant tank that just cannot die unless you have a ton of burst and healing reduction to take him down. And then you already used all that and can't kill the tank.
Oh, no, that lands. Put to sleep here. No flash for him as well. Jankos just running him down. That is a very dead bird, and G2 can continue this pressure up towards the top side.
Yanan also used his ulti right there. Not available for next one, but the cooldown not too long for him. Will continue to just push on top side. And Roccat, we said in that champ select, man, ooh, this comp. There are so many ways to engage. There are so many ways to get the big team fight. Set up your mid laner. Oh, it's gonna look fantastic. Never got there. They tried a few times. They died terribly, and G2 have just shown that they can really actually survive in the backline, especially around Yanan, and Wadida has shown us a great game on Fiddlestick.
Because that was our worry for G2. We worried that in a big 5v5 team fight, they had no way of disengaging their backline, but Roccat have never had the opportunity to do that. All credit to G2. Pulled Roccat around the map, haven't let them have all those tools in the same place.
Yeah, because we've had one big one, and that's why the stopwatch was available for Yanan, and G2 already picked up a bunch of kills before we saw the Yasuo join. This is just a replay of a lot of people and a massive upgraded grenade killing Noskaran.
It's definitely going to leave you a little bit concussed, that grenade hitting you in the back. Like seeing this Shurelia's Reverie as well from Wadid, gives him the ability to run at people a little bit quicker, run at them, throw some crows at them, maybe even fear them and set up the fight for your team.
You get in with the ult, you use it, you know, they can't get out of the ulti in time. We do not get the magic pen build that Jack Troll showed us, where he wanted to be the carry on his own. That is his Moby boots on this side and movement speed buffs coming in from Wadid. That's probably going to be the more traditional Fiddlesticks build. You don't have to go for early magic pen. In this game, hey, you have enough damage without it. Perks jumps in, and Roccat watch another turret drop low. Looking for a potential fight, but it's not your Yasuo you want to engage.
Prophet was trying to come in from the side as well, but Wonder has spotted him out. Memento's up towards the top side of this fight.
And remember, if Prophet ever face checks into Wonder, you get a cleaver, and then you Wonder just starts smacking you down, and there's nothing Prophet can do 1v1. Like, he just has to give it up completely. And he actually drops fairly low against the Wonder. So it
goes Memento.
And there we go.
That's what you want to see if you're a fan of Roccat. Here's the call of Forge God as well to disengage the fight. Looking for that backline. Blanca's fallen as well, though. 1-for-1 trade now as G2 reset and continues to push the tower.
All right, that was our worry. What do you do now? No stopwatch on the side of Yanan. Hourglass is completed for next fight, but not this one yet. I think he would probably change CC anyway on his side. Roccat finally find that wombo combo engage we were looking at. And it did secure kill, but on the way out, they still lose a member, and that's what happens when you're down 12,000 gold in 20 minutes. You're not supposed to win fights.
Their wave play really isn't optimal either. It's only Hiku here trying to push out these waves. A 10,000, almost 11,000 gold lead at 20 minutes is G2's largest ever in the EU LCS.
And it's definitely the biggest all split long.
Oh,
that was a quick stat for you.
That's incredible. We wondered if G2 would be suited to this meta. We wonder perhaps if it would unlock Yanan and Wadid in that bottom lane after they struggled so much last split. Well, it's definitely doing that.
Oh, can they actually get fight on Rocket's side? There is ulti from Memento, but nothing from Noskaran at the moment, nothing from Prophet. They have to just back away. And this is actually something on the Euphoria podcast available on YouTube with video, SoundCloud, and iTunes. We talked about how G2 Esports, they're an A-tier team coming into the split, but this specific meta can actually make them an S-tier team. Because in the bottom lane, Yanan is the kind of player who can play so many different styles. We get the Heimerdinger on this one. He's bait for this fight itself, but he's done his job already, taking all his turrets. This can benefit them so much with early game focus. Okay, he goes in, he's dead. But now, there's no real way to continue the fight as Roccat because you're down too much and Wonder's going to join. He has a BF sword now on Mundo.
Building towards a GA, possibly?
Probably.
In that top lane, just come back to life. And the help.
Yeah, I edge Mundo. Doesn't really feel like a thing.
See, doubling your crit when you have no crit, I think, is an optimal way to play League of Legends.
Hey, it's still doubling.
It's true. And in this meta, who knows what works, in all honesty. I'm sure one day we will see it. But Across the rest of the board, you got Knight's Vow on Jankos. You got that Zhonya's completed that we talked about. Keeps Hjarnan a little bit more safe in the fights on the other side.
But can he use it early enough?
That's the question.
Because if you get charmed or something by Noskaran, like, then the follow-up happens. I'm not sure. But if you see
Noskaran is
the
very
engage,
charming as well.
he is a charming man.
The question is whether they can find that team fight that they need. Still no Trinity Force even completed on Memento. Hasn't even upgraded or finished up that jungle item. Infinity Edge on its way for Blank, but he's still very far behind. Essence Reaver on EQ.
EQ right now blaming the crit 80 carries for all his trouble. He does have the Essence Reaver for now. Wants to get some more items later, but he's not getting there.
Engage though, it's all going to go onto that front line already. Wonder's killed Noskaran. This is the fight that G2 wanted. Roccat just cannot do anything underneath their own tower. The engage coming in from Wonder. It's a triple. Looking for the penta on the Mundo. Can't quite get it because Perk steals it away. The scumbag as Wonder at Hjarnan will finish off the X.
Domination from G2 Esports. 23 minutes into the game. They're almost 20,000 gold ahead of Roccat. They've taken everything from them.
G2 show us they are the early game team this split as well as last and take their first win in the EU LCS Summer Split.
That bot lane, baby.
Oh yeah.
Heimerdinger Fiddlesticks, Wadid and Hjarnan, they're coming in prepared for this split here. Perks thought it was going to be about him because he got to first pick the Zoe. He's like, look at me, I'm the carry. But when you get Heimerdinger bot lane, that's the carry you're looking at, especially early on because they got first turret, they got a kill on Noskaran, they swap top lane. Fight breaks out, G2 wins the fight, and then it was basically over. Roccat, I think their draft in terms of trying to counter a lot of poke makes sense.
Yeah, hard engage counters poke.
But too many members needing items, maybe before they were effective. Memento ends up actually walking into a bad fight, level 3. At that blue buff, sets himself behind. Not a good start for them. Ended up taking too long, and when you lose the early fights, you lose your objectives.
We talk about losing lanes in draft a lot as well, talking about how which lane has the push pressure, which lane can kill the minions quicker and cause the enemy team to be under their tower. G2 had that in mid and in bot lane, and it opened up that bot side of the map for them.
It's true. They had a smart draft that really fits their playstyle. Wonder, I think, if you are gonna put him on a split pushing tank, well, Mundo is a great choice.
Yeah.
He didn't need to do anything other than just 1v1 all game long. That's what he did. I don't necessarily copy his build at home.
I don't think, like, at that point...
Yeah, at that point it's fine.
That far ahead.
But traditionally, the full tank Mundo is what we see.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I don't think you cannot iterate at the moment. I think you can be a little bit inventive if you want practice in your practice games.
Yes, you
draft
can.
mode, see what works for you, and take it onto ranked.
I mean, it is one of the first times where I feel like you can pick any out of all the champions in the game, and you can probably find a logical reason for why this could work in a lot of different lanes as well. So strategy and innovation really gets promoted here from a lot of teams when it comes to preparing what champions to play.
And it's so important for the teams coming into their next games tomorrow and the games next week as well. The team that adapts and innovates the best will be the early forerunner. We saw it from Giants last split. They were good at playing the late game. They were good at playing team fights, and they were in first place for a while.
And they picked late game today, and they won.
Yeah.
So they continue that style. Vitality, of course, showed us a draft that reminds us of the G2 one, and they also look super good with it. So we have a couple of teams already showing strong early game, G2 Vitality. We have 2 teams showing they can try and win through later stages in Schalke and Giants.
Well, remember to give us your pick for player of the game at LOL Esports on Twitter. You can choose between Wonder, Perks at Hjarnan. And if you're not raising your dongers, are you really doing it right?
Sure, Rip did there. Definitely was
yeah, I mean, he had quite a big impact.
I think generally the bottom
sound
lane.
effect.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. The sound effect. On the replay, I delivered.
Yes, you did. Eventually. Well, coming up next is our match of the week between Misfits Gaming and Fnatic, with Jankos joining us here for Picks and Bans. Don't forget to check out the POV stream featuring Caps on twitch.tv Riot Games /Riot Games 2, where if you're lucky, you may just see some sick Yasuo play.
Awesome Braum.
Caps is just insane. I don't know. If I was, I could legit watch him play Yasuo an entire day if I wanted to. Yeah, I mean, I think he's just really good on it. He knows every mechanic, he knows every limit of the champion, so it's really hard to play against.
This Yasuo was pretty sick. Like we all know, we all watched the 1v1 against Rise many times, and yeah, he was sick. Yes.
Well, let's see what he can do. Follows up with a Q, manages to get the last breath as well. The shield comes up. And a steal Tempest for the solo kill.
It was pretty insane, actually. That's the best Yasuo I've ever seen.
Obviously, his play was clean. He was just styling on the kids.
Caps's Yasuo is so clean that it was filthy.
So clean that it was dirty.
His Yasuo was really clean.
Clean? I mean, he's really clean.
Was definitely clean.
Pretty clean. Cap's Yasuo's play was clean as